to talk about my run in the Pioneer Showcase today, and I guess the rationale behind a lot of the choices, because I do think the deck was very good, and yeah, I just think the deck was good, and I don't feel like writing, so I'm going to talk. But I guess to start, I don't know. Not that I'm not happy to qualify, but I think my frustrations with the game come from the fact that I'm a 60% player when what I need to be is a 65 to 70% player. And I don't know that that's really possible. Like, I'm going to keep flipping coins, and obviously, with how much I play and how much I win, I will sometimes qualify for these showcases. Like with Pioneer, this is the third consecutive one I've qualified for, right? I spiked with Jund, I spiked with Ascendancy, and now I got there with Phoenix. This is, I think, the best deck I've had in a while, but I don't know. I was probably flipping decently better than 60% coins today, but like at the base rate, I'm still leaking all over the board without really any idea what I should be doing about that. But I don't know, like I'm happy about the qualification. Showcase is an exciting event. Hopefully I will be, I don't know, my future is very uncertain if stable at the moment. Hopefully I'll be in a position to put some good work in with some good people to prepare for that, because historically I've enjoyed doing that. It's a fun, like, PTQ, it's a fun event, I don't know. Yeah, definitely happy to be qualified. I think the 6 points I get from my fourth or third plate finish are too late in the season to matter, but showcases are the best way to get points, so maybe if I spike something else, it can matter on that axis too. Um, I think last season me being close only happened really because Milan was towards the top and he was going to be disqualified, and Binu got a qualification from elsewhere, right? Like there were two people being skipped, I believe. So it's much tougher to qualify without that. But it might matter. Like 6 points isn't nothing. I think people right now are like around 20, but it's something. Anyway, I guess that covers my general feelings. I'm gonna talk about card choices. This should. Is it not gonna display? That's less than ideal. Bum 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 ba dum bum bum. Hmm. I guess I need to reset. It was just black this whole time? God damn it. Screen capture. Primary monitor. Here we go. Yep. Okay. I think the first and most notable thing is cutting Thin in the Ice from the deck. Thin in the Ice is very strong, and the way you're constructing your deck, you've already paid for most of the opportunity to cost to make it be good, right? So when Isaac first told me that Stefan was cutting Thing, he thought Stefan was just siding them out, then it came out that Stefan didn't have them in the deck at all. I thought that was crazy, but the more I talked with Stefan and Daniel over this week, the more I was convinced that it's totally reasonable. For a long time now, I've been somewhat, I guess, frustrated with Thing. You want to play it as early as possible, right? But then you're investing so much, like Graveyard, and you're just giving up a lot of alternative development to get out the early Thing. And often, past the first one, if something happens to the first one, the next ones are just dead because they're too slow. Even the first one often ends up dying. So basically, you're speculating on whether it's going to survive. And obviously, it's very strong if it does, and usually you win those games. But everyone is prepared for it, everyone has answers for it at this point. I think basically it's just too much of a gamble when you can be doing more consistent things. Like instead of bouncing to clear the board of 3 things, just play more removal and kill those as they come in. So I'm pretty sure that's correct. Obviously, like the sample size I have to back that up is pretty small, and by definition I got pretty lucky. But I do think it's correct, and I think most people I've talked to agree with me at this point. What else is notable in here? 2 Stern Dismissals in the main. Um, I want to be super prepared for Insult and Auras. It seemed like those 2 decks were popping off. Everyone not playing 4 Pieces is extremely, extremely wrong. Pieces is the best card in the deck. It's very, very often when you're playing the game the card you need to top deck to do something. It's crazy to me that people are playing less than that. I just really don't think it's correct. There was like some like in Thing versions. Now that you're not playing Thing, really, there's no reason to do it at all. Even with Thing, I think you're supposed to do it. We are back up to maxing Charticourse. It's not that Charticourse was bad. It's that in Thing versions there was no room for it really, and I didn't prioritize early Phoenixes as much. Whereas especially now, and I guess with the benefit of hindsight, especially versus Red-Black, early Phoenixes are one of the best things to be doing. But you're also like filling in the hole in the curve, because really these expressive iterations are 3s, right? And these galvanic iterations are what, 5s, 6s most of the time. So you just have nothing else to be doing on 2, aside from like casting 2 cantrips or cantrip and a removal. So these can sort of fill in your 2, but it's nice to have other stuff to do there, and you do really want to prioritize early Phoenixes. 20 lands, pretty sure that's correct. I think you could make an argument for going to 21. I don't want less than 20. First of all, the utility lands are quite good now, especially Sokenzan represents a win condition. One of the most important things with the deck now that we don't have Thing, just in general really, is what win conditions you have, because Arclight Phoenix is something that can be so easily disrupted, right? So you really need raw win condition count in your deck, and you can, Sokenzan provides you sometimes enough chip damage to get there. Like, you fork Time Walk, you get Sokenzan on the first turn, then you can activate Otawara, not Otawara, Hall of Storm Giants. It's just another win condition, if not a very good one. And Otawara, we were already playing Islands, so the first one is free. I don't think you can ever play the second, but I've occasionally activated it. Between this weekend and last weekend, I think I've activated 3, maybe 4 times, something along those lines, because you do get a lot of mana. And 20 is just good. Like, you want to support your pieces, and you really want to keep making land drops all throughout the game. You're incredibly mana hungry constantly. I think you can go to 21. I'm happy with 20. It's tough to say what's correct, but I don't like less than 20. So, Lightning Axes, those are stock. Fiery Impulses are something. You can do a lot of different things with that slot. The one thing I was talking about with Stefan this morning is playing Play with Fire as one of those. Because hypothetically, with Galvanic Iteration, that represents up to like 6 damage. Even more if you can get to a crazy mana count and go like double fork, but realistically like up to 6 at most, which can be enough to close out a game. And the opportunity cost is not super high. In the end, I ended up just playing 4 because me and Stefan were concerned about Greasefang specifically. You can play a Play with Fire as one of those. The opportunity cost is not huge. You can play Flamebust Bolt to hit Planeswalkers. Sometimes, like, you want to kill a Narset, Sorin. It matters sometimes. The Exile can be nice as well. I think the 3 damage is probably worth more, but the 4 Fiery Impulses are not stock. Those could be other removal. Really, you can be doing stuff like playing 1 Entrancing Melody in the main, even, though I think that's too bad in too many matchups for me to feel comfortable with it. The Delve spells, I don't know, at this point, 2 Fork, 2 Treasure Cruise, 2 Trespass is stock. I'd be hard-pressed to tell you if it's correct. There was some discussion of going down on the Fork Time Walk package, because we're citing it out versus a lot of the low-to-the-ground decks, but it seems like we're seeing Auras and Insult fade down, and Black-Red be very popular. At least that was the case this weekend, and there the Time Walk is pretty important, I think. It's hard to say. Treasure Cruise is obviously strong. I don't have a strong opinion in that regard, but this sort of 2-2-2 setup is pretty tried and true, and I don't feel a lot of a reason to move to something else. A null, was supposed to answer Jund, while also being good against Insol and Auras. It's also good against Black-Red, just a strong general-purpose card. Answering Anvil is one of the most important things to be doing against Black-Red, because that's the scariest thing they do. Annul is just strong. Surgery finds use in a lot of spots versus Ascendancy you want it, versus Lotus you want it. I think with my current config, I'm not bringing it in versus Go Blank decks, but you can be doing that as well. It's just something to round out my slots. I drew up a spreadsheet, and this seemed clean to me. Miscast. Miscast is very good, because you want an answer to Silence. It's also an answer to Deadly Dispute. So Miscast ended up replacing Second Surgery, specifically because we were concerned about Silence. The three good answers to Silence are Dispel, Miscast, and Swan Song. Swan Song could be good. I don't know, it's a bit too speculative. I'm not super happy, obviously, to be giving someone a 2-2 bird when my main threat in the deck is a 3-2 flyer, right? And between Miscast and Dispel, I think Miscast is just better. The 3 mana versus straight up counter, I think, matters very rarely, while hitting sorceries as well matters a lot. Ether Gust, strong general purpose card, bunch of applications. You can go up on that, I don't know. It depends on what your mapping looks like. I guess I should be hitting the stuff that's non-stock. Oh, Entrancing Melody. Entrancing Melody is great. Very good versus Insol, like insanely good, and still quite solid against Auras. Also has applications against Burn, Heroic, just a really strong card, especially if people don't expect it. A Braid is, you can be playing something to hate on artifacts more. I think the options that came up were Vandal Blast and by Force. In this event, I was not prepared for how much Black-Red there would be, which I don't know, it's a bit tough. I think watching the results, like I looked at Goldfish, I don't think that gave me, I don't think the information that gave me was enough for me to conclude that there would be huge swaths of Black-Red in this event. And if you're not, like in Discords, very tuned into what's going on, I think it's hard to make that conclusion. But honestly, I went, 3-1 versus Red-Black on the day, with my one loss being a game 3 to Polium, where I missed my 4th land in like 6, maybe 7 looks. I had 2 or 3 cantrips, and then I drew for a bunch, and I kept drawing 4s instead of a land to let me cast one of those 4s. His draw was, I don't know, I just got like very unlucky. I don't think the matchup is that bad for us. I'm happier to face aggro than face Red-Black, but I think the matchup is fine. You can win. I'm not convinced you need Vandal Blast or by Force, but with this much Red-Black, it's probably correct to have like one of those, maybe 2. But a Braid was like a nice hedge in that direction to kill Anvil, while also having applications elsewhere. Crackling Drake is great. The entire week I was like worrying about what my alternate threat would be if I'm cutting Thing in the Ice. Pyromancer, Ironcrag Pyromancer, just seems super, super anemic to me. You do like 6 damage, right? Then it dies, and it doesn't really matter that it had existed in the first place. Whereas Crackling Drake, most of the time, is going to be a one-shot threat. You can play it with Trespass for 7 mana to just win the game most of the time. And at the very least, while it eats most of the same removal as Ironcrag Pyromancer, it's at the very least cycling. So I think Drake is great. It was great for me all day. I think that hits everything. Oh, and I have a sideboard guide spreadsheet that I'll attach to this video.